Hey everyone, welcome to the first episode of Quant Foundry. Today we're going to dig into some Tableau basics, covering how to get your data into Tableau. There are various different ways of getting your data into Tableau. We're going to be focusing primarily with flat files because, from my experience, that's what the majority of students and people new in their career are working with. Tableau offers more advanced connectivity. We'll be covering those in later episodes, but for now, we're just going to be working with how to get a flat Excel file into Tableau Public. So let's go ahead and take a look at the underlying data first. So here I've put together and built a dummy data set for a hypothetical fashion retail company. We've got some pretty basic data types within here, things like sales, profit, class, date. We've got a total of 13 different fields within this data set. It's super simple. I'll provide a Google Drive link so that you can download this data set, play around with it, and follow along with this tutorial if you so choose. So this is about 13 fields long, 13 columns long, about only 203 records. Super basic. Should be really easy to play around with on your own. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up Tableau Public. So Tableau Public is the free version of Tableau. It's a much more, it has all the same functionality as far as being able to build with data. But looks like I need to update Tableau. But it has all the same functionality as like the Pro or Enterprise versions of Tableau. The only limitation is twofold. So over here you're able to see the types of data we're able to connect to. We're limited to flat files as far as Microsoft Excel, TXT files, JSON files, PDF, spatial, and statistical files, so things coming out of Stata, for instance. On the server connectivity side, we're able to connect to a live Google Sheets connection if you're using Google Sheets as some type of rudimentary database, an OData, which is an open source data warehousing or database tool, and web data connectors. So what we're going to be working with is an Excel file. Go ahead and click on Excel, and you're going to want to navigate to the file that you want to ingest into Tableau, which is sales data, fashion retail. I'll provide a link in the description for this actual data set. Go ahead and hit open, and we'll be here at the Tableau ingest screen. This is basically a final checkbox for you to be able to confirm that you have indeed connected to the correct data source. It gives you a preview of about I think it maxes out or defaults to 1,000 rows. In this case, since we only have 202 rows in this data set, it's showing the entire data set. But quick things to check out here. If you're familiar with your data, make sure that all of it is being ingested. Also, make sure naming conventions and things are being brought in properly. Sometimes, if you have like a post-processed data set, like you're bringing in something that finance gave you or working with a data set that's not in tabular format, instead of seeing the actual column name, you'll get something that says F1 or F2 as a placeholder because Tableau can't read the actual field name. This data set is clean, super basic. So we're seeing everything that we saw when we were looking at it within numbers. We've got sales, profit, class, date, brand, etc., etc. One thing I want to point out though, Tableau automatically detects the data type of each field. This is denoted in these icons right above your field names. So this hashtag or pound sign denotes that it's an integer or a number. This basically means that Tableau is going to recognize this data or this field type as something that can be calculated against. So you can calculate averages, sums, totals, things like that. Right here, ABC denotes that Tableau is reading this as a string or some type of qualitative dimensional cut of data. If you're not familiar with what a string is in programming, think of it as something like words or text. Class is a classification of a product type. We've got cardigans, button-ups, blouses, dress pants, skirts, etc. in here. So this is correct. Next, we've got another data type that Tableau checked, city and state. You'll see the globe icon is populated above this field name, this is basically Tableau telling us that it's reading this as a geo, or a geographic data type. This is correct as well. This will have implications further down the road when we get into building maps within Tableau. So overall, this looks right. You can do some preliminary data cleansing. This is already cleansed. We can sort, make sure there are no wonky outliers if we're unfamiliar with the data set. One thing that's popping out here is date is being read as a string. We're going to want to change that. We can change it. Let's go ahead and change it after we ingest it. Okay. Date should be brought in as a time data type versus a simple string, and I'll show you why once we ingest it. So to ingest this data into Tableau, what we're going to do is this orange tab here, sheet 1, we're going to go ahead and go to that worksheet. Here we've got the Tableau Worksheet Builder view. This is a canvas where you're going to build data visualizations and be able to kind of analyze your data and begin to put together the constituent parts that go into building a story or building some type of analyses with Tableau. First thing I'm going to call out is here on the left side, Tableau has broken out your data into two different buckets. We've got dimensions and we've got measures. This is relevant because when we were first looking at the data, this is basically going to inform what you can do with the data. So measures are things, quick rule of thumb, measures are things that can be calculated against. So you can do averages, sums, and basically anything that can be calculated on. Dimensions are going to provide context around that data. It's a dimensional cut that you can slice and dice data by. So to illustrate this, let's go ahead and bring in the dollar sales measure. I'm going to go ahead and double click on dollar sales, and this populates basically a total sum of all sales within our data set. We're showing $113,000 in sales. Cool. It's not particularly useful. If you are a category manager or a CEO of a fashion retail company, you probably know what your aggregate sales were within a subset of your data. How this becomes useful is when we start interrogating the data by slicing this measure with different dimensional cuts. So let's go ahead and slice it by department. Bring that in, double click. Now it's breaking out our total sales by department. Let's go ahead and make this a little bit wider so we can get the entire axes. Bottoms, outerwear, and tops. So we can see that bottoms are leading department, responsible for $57,000 in sales. Tops, $36,000. That's our number 2 department, and outerwear is $18,000. So that's a quick overview of how Tableau is going to read your data. Next thing I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and undo this. One nice thing about Tableau is you have unlimited undo and redo. If you are on Windows, hit Control Z. If you are on Mac, hit Command Z. So Command Z for me, and you can see we're backpedaling out of everything we just built. So next thing I want to dig into, first thing I noticed in that data set was date was being recognized as a string. Date is a time, a function of time. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this data type to its correct type. So date, we're going to go ahead and right click on date, and we're going to go down to change data type to date. This calendar denotes that Tableau is now reading it as a date. I'm going to go ahead and undo that. You don't have to follow along, but I'm going to show you why we did that. When you undo, so now it's being read as a string. When we bring it back in, Tableau brings this in a column format because it's seeing it as a list of names effectively. And so if we bring sales in, it's basically just giving us a label with an actual date label and the associated name. That's not particularly useful for our purposes, so I'm going to undo out of here and show you why we changed the data type. So right click, I'm going to go ahead and change that data type back to date, and I'm going to bring it back in. So Tableau Tableau defaults to bringing in data at the highest level of aggregation within a date. That's going to be a year for this data set. So we're going to disaggregate this. To disaggregate it, we're going to right click on the pillbox here for date, go down to day, click on that, and we'll have these little hash marks at every date within our data set that exists. Next, we're going to bring in sales. Double click on sales, and we've built a time series here showing revenue or sales over time. And this is at a daily level. This is super granular, not particularly useful. It's very noisy. So we're going to go ahead, instead of going from the year highest level of aggregation to a granular level of aggregation, we're going to go ahead and use a mid-level of aggregation. So go ahead and right click on the date pillbox. Let's bring it up to month. That's much more workable, manageable. So now we have a nice little time series showing monthly revenue over the year 2014. So that's a basic overview of getting your data into Tableau. Hope it was helpful. We'll continue with navigating the Tableau interface in our next video. Thanks. Bye.